Hey everyone, Lisa here. How is everybody doing today? I am just about ready to go out for my run and to do a little bit of kettlebell lifting, so I am dressed to do that. But wanted to talk to you a little bit about stress. So in some of my previous posts, we talked about adrenal function and how to support that. We talked about minerals, and I am going to be obviously continuing with minerals because that's definitely my forte. However, today I'm going to talk about the stress involved with the pandemic. And so obviously right now with so much unknown, a lot of my clients are reaching out and they're fearful, they're anxious. And some of the symptoms that they're experiencing seem to have a lot of commonalities. And so I wanted to kind of bring those to the table because, sometimes we can be dealing with stress, but when stress becomes chronic, then it causes a whole cascade of other events in the body that really isn't doing us any good if we're not recognizing them and we're not doing things to correct them. So the first symptom of being under stress could be that you're forgetful. So maybe, when you're in one of those moods where you go to do something or you walk 5 steps and all of a sudden you forget what you're doing or forget why you're going to a certain area to do something. You knew there was something you wanted to do, but you couldn't remember when you got there. So at that point, we just kind of need to backtrack a little bit. Maybe start making some lists, do some deep breathing. Meditation goes a long way just to really, really be able to support our mind when we're under that extra stress. The next one is we may be experiencing more headaches. And headaches obviously cause other stressors because when we have a headache, we get frustrated, right? We're trying to understand why we have a headache, or we don't. It causes us not to do things like be active or be outside or in the sunshine if we have a pounding headache. And a lot of times headaches will cause anxiety. They'll raise that level of frustration again. So recognizing that if you're having constant headaches, could be something physical, but it may also be some extra stress. And we need to have some stress reduction strategies in place to make sure that those headaches get reduced. The next one is insomnia. So a lot of times when we are stressed, when we're worried, we don't sleep well. Maybe you're having trouble falling asleep. Maybe you're having trouble staying asleep. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about sleep, and I'm going to be releasing a blog. So watch out for that. It's going to be on my website. I'll give you guys an update when that's ready. And a couple things that you can do to help sleep. One is you can try some tart cherry juice before bed. Tart cherry juice is really great. It's a powerful antioxidant. It helps your body produce melatonin. It's also really great for recovery, and it's a good source of potassium. So really great to try before you go to bed or an hour before you go to bed, something like that. The other thing that you can do is think about sleeping in a deep, dark cave, right? You have to think about when you're, say, sun tanning or you're out in the sun and your eyes are closed, you can still see the rays, right? You can see the rays of the sun. You can see that bright coming through your eyelids. And so, our eyelids aren't blackout blinds. And so in the night, if we have blue lights on, if we've got lights flashing on our phones, if we've got the moonlight coming in our windows and things like that, all of those things have the potential of waking us or keeping us from getting a super restful sleep. So think about sleeping in that deep, dark cave when you go to bed at night. The fourth thing is some of us may be jumpy or on edge. So when stress levels rise, so now I'm going to dig a little into minerals. So when stress levels rise, intense stress levels, sodium goes up in the body. And what happens with sodium is sodium and potassium are very important. They create a ratio called the vitality ratio or the stress ratio. And so this tells us the vitality that someone has in their body. It tells us if they're under acute intense stress. It also tells us if they're under chronic stress or if they're experiencing burnout. So when you are under stress, sodium levels rise. And when sodium levels rise, inflammation goes up and irritability and aggressiveness go up. So not a surprise that we're a little bit on edge, that we're a little bit jumpy. So if that's happening, you may want to, again, put into some practice some stress reduction strategies, a little bit of deep breathing, support the adrenal function, and maybe have a little bit of potassium rich coconut water or something like that to try and help bring that ratio down into balance just a little bit. And as that stress, as you start to release that stress, then the sodium levels will eventually begin to come down. Now, if you're past the point of that jumpy, irritable, and you're just tired all the time, that can be a case of chronic stress, right? So we're getting to a point now where, you know, we've been kind of dealing with the unknown for a number of weeks, right? So kind of between that 9-10 week period since the middle of March. And so when stress is acute, and the adrenals and your stress response kicks in, your body starts producing cortisol, you know, it can only do that for so long. And I kind of compare it to a car, driving a car, right? So you can only drive a car for so long until it finally runs out of gas. And your adrenals are no different. And when you're under that chronic stress, the adrenals keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed to produce more and more and more cortisol. And eventually, the body will start to stop. It just can't keep up the pace anymore. And so that's where I bring a kind of a roller coaster into the picture. And so the roller coaster is, you know, your body starts here in homeostasis where it likes to be. And if you are, for example, being chased by a bear, always a key example, you know, your stress response goes up, you kind of go up the front side of that roller coaster, but then once the bear stops chasing you and your body doesn't need to be in fight or flight anymore, your body would naturally want to come back down into homeostasis. Now, what's happening in society today is that, you know, we're kind of going up the front side of that roller coaster because we're under that acute stress, but then we have, you know, a whole slew of other stressors that just keep piling on, and that's where chronic stress comes in. And then we end up going down the other side of that roller coaster, and that's the dangerous side because that's the side where we're under the chronic stress, and eventually when we hit the bottom of that side, that's when our bodies truly go into burnout. And so we want to be able to make sure that we have a healthy, resilient stress response, that we're able to deal with stressors that come our way. And so that's going to take a little bit of digging to see what's going to work for you. And so some stress reduction strategies are, you know, prioritizing. So making some lists with regards to things that you need to do, or, you know, whether it's work related or errands or things like that. Putting it down on paper always helps with prioritizing. And trying to have some downtime, right? I find a lot of us are diving into, you know, we have this extra time, some of us, and we're diving into hobbies and we're going crazy into hobbies, but that's not always healthy either. Sometimes you just need a moment to take a breath. You know, as I mentioned last week, with keeping that positive mindset, you know, even just taking your shoes off, walking in the grass, grounding yourself to the earth, grounding your energy, and just being able to be for a little while so that your body can rest and repair is really important. And it also really helps to clear your mind, because when we have, you know, a lot on our mind and we're worried about things, being able to just take a deep breath, right? Take a deep breath, take 5 minutes, deep breath into the belly. If you're outside in the sunshine, even better, soaking up some rays and some vitamin D. You know, then everything that seemed to be stressful all of a sudden isn't quite so stressful anymore. So if you haven't tried that technique, give it a try. Doesn't have to take a long time. You know, it can be a few minutes, it can be a few breaths. I like to do about 20 to 40 deep belly breaths. That seems to work really well for me. And I call it kind of like my mini meditation time. And I really find that that helps to regulate my stress and just be able to help me relax and put things into perspective. And so I hope some of these strategies will help. We're going to have more coming out on healthy habits. And as always, I have tons of free resources on my website, articles, podcasts, freebies, and more. And take a look at those. Let me know how it goes. And if you have anything to share, drop it in the comments below. Sharing is important because we're all experiencing this together. No one's in this on their own. And the more we share, the more we learn tactics that are helping others and that we may help us too. And so share, drop your comments below. I'd love to see them. And I'll be right back here next week with another video.